Yeah, absolutely. A lot of times, if you ask questions, like we live in a small town in Northern California, everybody knows everybody. So, if you let people know that you're in real estate, if you let people know that you're looking for rundown houses, if you let people know that we're looking for contractors that you in this town have worked with, that have a good reputable, reputation, that's how you start getting these people and getting those references and know that you can use this guy, you can use this particular contractor because of their track record in that small town.
David and Chenoa, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so excited to talk to you.
No problem. Thank you so much for having us. We're excited to chat and let you guys know about our story.
Well, I've heard so much, and of course, yeah, TV stars. But beyond that, I first thing I'm interested in is as a married couple, how do you operate as business partners as well, working together? Because, of course, my wife and I own and operate our own businesses as well, real estate, fudge company, all of that. She lets me uh, hold the highest title in the company. That does not mean I'm the boss. So how do you balance the work relationship, personal and business relationship? How's that work on your side?
I think for us, as we early on figured out what our strengths were and what our weaknesses were as far as the business aspect goes, um, and then kind of transitioned that also into our family life and how it all blends together. When we first started our business and growing it, it was definitely all kind of mixed in together and it got a little overwhelming and chaotic. And then when it starts to get too overwhelming, that's when you sit back and think, okay, we got to figure out how to make this work more efficiently and just really hone in our skills that we're good at. And so that we can work together efficiently as a team and get both run a household and a business together under the same roof, right?
So it starts with communication, which often for my wife and me, it's Aaron, shut up, and everything works out just great. But how do you know like where to switch hats, right? When does the business end and uh, just the personal life begin?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can keep going. I think that we are very intentional of what we are doing when we're doing what we're doing. So we carve out date nights, we carve out time away to, just spend quality time. That's completely shutting off the phones and turning off the business, so that we prioritize our marriage over everything. And then it funnels down to our business aspect. And so then we just, we're specific. So when we're doing real estate, we're doing real estate.
Yep.
When we're doing family stuff, we're doing family stuff.
Absolutely. We're intentional about doing other things outside of our business. If you do that as a couple, you're gonna your marriage, your life, your kids, everything is gonna fall in the right way that it needs to fall if you're intentional about all the other activities outside of business.
I know being in real estate myself, it's always on my mind. And I'm always talking about it. I'm always redirecting conversations into real estate, no matter what it is. How do you keep business out of the conversation, when you're being
Well,
intentional?
I would say this. I don't think it's a bad thing that, like you said, you have real estate in your mind when you're talking to people, and you might be talking to a friend and it has nothing to do with real estate, but then they say something and it just sparks that interest that of real estate that's always on your mind, and you start talking about real estate to your friend. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's something that actually is a good thing as an entrepreneur to always have that on your mind, because you are the author of you're basically in control of the marketing and everything you do with your business. And when you always have business on your mind, it's a good thing, because I feel that you're always letting everybody know what you do, and people always, when you're communicating with people, they know what you do, because like I said earlier, if it's something that is brought up that's a small little thing that sparks you to talk about real estate, they'll know when something comes up with real estate, they're going to be thinking of you because you said that in that conversation.
So brand awareness, and I also think that David and I are very passionate about real estate, so it is who we are. And so I think people are drawn to want to do business with us or have those conversations. I think it may be more challenging for a couple if like one person was really into something and the other person could care less. That may change the dynamics of it, but we are fortunate enough to both be really passionate about what we're doing and what we're building. And I think we've set a vision or casted a vision of where we want to go and the direction we want to go to. So I think just revisiting those, staying accountable for the actions moving forward, and then balancing those conversations. We talk on a daily basis about everything. So whether it's family or business, we kind of have these little recap meetings in the end of the evening or if something's bothering us. So it's just a ton of communication and then being intentional about where we need to pivot or change if something feels like it's out of whack. If, say, like a child feels like they're not getting enough attention or we feel like one might be acting out in a certain way, then we try to pivot and say, okay, well, let's try this, let's try that.
Well, take us back. How did you get? How did you meet? And then how did you get into real estate? What was it? You both into real estate? One convinced the other. How
Yeah, I
that
mean,
all work?
me and my wife, we met in college. I had been training. I was a football player. I had a full athletics scholarship in football, and I got hurt in football when I was playing football in Missouri, and I transferred back into Northern California, Chico State, and at Chico State, I decided to pursue and get my degree there after my football career ended in Missouri. And while I was going to school at Chico State, I met my wife Chenoa, and we just it was love at first sight, and then from there we just both we used our degrees. Like Chanel got her degree in business marketing, I got my degree in hotel management, and we went off in those fields and we tried to use our degree, but ultimately at the end of the day we both never felt that the jobs that we were doing were our calling. And so I actually was at a family party and my wife's aunt gave me a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read that book and it pretty much changed my life. It inspired me to just be obsessed with real estate. I started reading more books on real estate, and I started to let everybody know. I started talking about real estate 24/7, and it kind of the disease just started growing on me from there. The disease of real estate. Um, and then from there, we just started buying houses and we started flipping houses and we started buying rentals. And Shanoa got her real estate license. And I quit my job that I had my degree in. She quit her job that she had her degree in. Then we went on HGTV. Um, and then we had kids, and it just everything just started taking off. So yeah.
How many kids have you got now?
I had two before David and I met, and then we had two together, so we have a total of four. My oldest is 26 and 23, and they're out of the house and they have their families. And then we have an 11-year-old and a 7-year-old.
So how, well, raising a family, were you able to not just flip, like one house, which is, I don't know, for, at least for the first time, is, I don't know how to describe it, disaster, nightmare. Uh, how, but you scaled up to like 300. How did you do that?
Yeah, it starts with the relationships. It starts with taking action, immediate action. It starts with knowing, and this goes back to the question you asked earlier. I know what my role is, and she knows, and my wife knows what her role is. And so we stay in our lanes, we network with the right people, and that's really how you grow to go up and scale your business. And if you network with the right people, your lane that you're in and the things that you need to do, and you work really hard on it, you can really grow and scale your business. And it's not easy. It's not something that, oh, it was so easy to do. No, we made a lot of mistakes. We lost a lot of money. Um, but that's how you learn. That's what business is. It's a roller coaster. You go up and down, and you work hard on it, and you keep growing. You learn from the mistakes, and that's really how you grow your business.
Well, there are a few components to from the acquisition to the renovation to exit. You've got the contractors, you've got the lenders, financing it. Uh, how did you find these, develop these relationships? Where did you find them? How did you were you able to manage? I know even managing one contractor sometimes could be a handful.
Yeah,
So how did that happen? Go a
yeah,
little deeper.
absolutely. A lot of times, if you ask questions, like, we live in a small town in Northern California, everybody knows everybody. So if you let people know that you're in real estate, if you let people know that you're looking for rundown houses, if you let people know that we're looking for contractors that you in this town have worked with, that have a good reputable, reputation, that's how you start getting these people and getting those references, and know that you can use this guy, you can use this particular contractor because of their track record in that small town. So for us, it's always about networking, finding out what's going on. Before we started flipping houses, I looked at what other investors were doing here locally. I looked at what contractors they were using. I looked at the houses they were buying, the neighborhoods they were doing it in. I looked at how they acquired their houses. Were they getting them at auctions? Were they getting them, through social media? Whatever direction it was. I looked at what the successful guys were doing, and then we mimicked what they were doing, and then we used the reputable references and employed them in our basically business, and that's how we were able to excel and do what we do.
How though? I mean, I know some of the best contractors out there that do the best work on uh, our properties might not be the best schedule or calendar keepers or businessmen. How do you keep that organized or keep them on track?
A lot of it, I think, has to do with, like David said, like just finding the right people, right? If somebody's great at what they do and they excel at it, and we just kind of rode that roller coaster to max it out, and then when it got maxed out, we had to look for another contractor, and when that one got maxed out, then we started the process of looking for
Hmm.
another contractor. So we had several different contractors that came across our plate, and yeah, they all haven't been perfect, and sometimes jobs got a little bit more delayed, or the type of project wasn't the right match for maybe that specific contractor. But then we started putting the pieces together of the puzzle of
Hmm.
like who's best for this job and who can we do utilize this for this job. And I think we just tapped into their strengths, and luckily for us, they were efficient contractors and they were managing stuff very well and efficiently. So it all gelled pretty well, and we would check on the houses regularly to make sure we're progressing forward. And I think also that we weren't looking for necessarily the cheapest contractors. We were looking for quality and good reputable contractors that
Hmm.
were good humans. And I think if you're a good business owner and manager, and you respect the people and you pay them a little bit, maybe possibly extra, and don't ask too many questions about some of the fine line details, as long as the job's getting done in a time frame that you need and we're all making a profit, we kind of all rode that wave together.
Yep. And we listen to them. We listen to the contractors. Like Chenoa said, like, if there's a contractor that is really good at cosmetic properties, if we had a cosmetic flip, we would have that contractor work on that property because his track record was better with cosmetic properties. If we had a contractor that was good with ground up construction, we would use that contractor, not use the cosmetic contractor. We'd use the ground up construction contractor because he was better at that. So you really got to look at the strengths of the contractors, and you got to employ them what's best for the business.
How do you find these deals? I mean, you're doing a pretty good volume there. Where do they come from?
I mean, we get them from all different avenues. We get a lot of deals through wholesalers. We get a lot of deals through direct mail marketing. We get a lot of deals through driving for dollars. We get a lot of deals through other realtors. Other realtors, everybody over here in this area knows what me and Chenoa do, and so when they get a rundown house, instead of them even taking it on, they call us because they know we buy rundown houses. We can buy it cash. We can close quick, and we are able to perform. And we take action.
Or I spoke to another real estate couple, Flip and Danny Robinson, in Midwest in Ohio, and they started doing the verticals, right? Bringing everything in house. You're not doing that. These contractors are outside contractors, or did you bring them into your organization?
For us, liability wise, they are. It's so weird. We're so close to all of our contractors, but I just felt that I didn't want them for liability wise. I wanted them to carry their own insurance, their own license and bond, and so they have their own company, and we have our own company, and that's how we've always done it.
Makes sense. That's a good point for a good reason for the opposite. Uh, talk about Tell me about financing. Doing this kind of volume also it takes quite a bit of money.
Absolutely. I mean, with financing, it it boils down to the relationships. It boils down to the banks that back you. And me and my wife have been really good in networking with a local bank, and we've also networked with the biggest lenders here locally. And when you have that relationship with the bank and you have a relationship with a local lender, then you can really do a lot of volume. And it's not something that happens overnight. You have to be able to be able to pay back the loans when you're first starting out. Everything that you say you're going to do, all your payments, you got to make sure you're on it. And once the lenders and the banks see that you can repay them and do everything that you said you were going to do, then they start believing in you. And then once they start believing in you, then more money comes for funds and more money comes for your projects. And then as this starts growing, they realize they're making money, we're able to make money. It's a win-win for both sides.
Well, right now, what kind of terms are you getting on your financing? Is this all private money? Or are you using commercial?
We do a little bit of, so we have private money to buy. We use private money to buy any of our projects, and then when we do the refinance, if it's commercial, we go to a commercial local bank that we use here locally, Five Star Bank. And then if it's a single family, 1 to 4 doors, we use Lending One in Florida, and they do all our single family loans.
So you said you're refinancing. So you're keeping
Yeah,
some of
some of
these
them. So the
properties.
bigger multifamilies that we keep, we use our commercial bank, Five Star Bank, and then the single families that we keep, we use Lending One, and then um, for the other properties that we buy with private money that we're flipping, we just turn them and flip them.
Yeah. And we kind of like to have a spread, a balance of passive income and active income going, just because your passive income cash flow can get eaten up real quickly with, things that come up, and, an AC unit goes down, and that's, eats up your cash flow for a couple months, up to a year or whatever. So it's kind of like having the balance where the long real estate, I think the real money's made in the long term hold, buy and hold, with appreciation, and then possibly funneling it up into like larger units. So we kind of like to build that avenue out, but also maintain an area of active cash flow as well.
When did you make the leap from single family to multifamily?
We just started to realize, I remember the first duplex I bought, and the same amount of time and effort that I put in to acquire that duplex was the same amount of time that I put in for a single family. And so I realized, okay, well, is that going to be the same for a fourplex? And lo and behold, like boom, it was the same thing, and then an eightplex, and the same effort that I put in to buy a 12plex is the same amount of time and effort that I put in to buy one door in a single family. So once we started realizing that, then we transitioned into buying bigger multifamily, but also buying single family still, and also flipping houses.
When did the when did the TV show come along?
The TV show came along probably, gosh, when we were a few years into the business of real estate. We had a good set of contractors working with us, and we came across this like ad, and or maybe it was online. We used to watch HGTV, just like, oh, we do this. This is what we do. And so I sent in like a little family Christmas card and said, oh, we flip houses in Northern California. We've got kids. We love to travel. This is kind of a little bit about us. And it was like maybe 6 months later, randomly got a phone call from them. And they were like, yeah, we'd love to interview you guys and just kind of, get to know more about you and what you do and see if you qualify, if you're even eligible. And it just kind of progressed from there, and it kept going further and further to where we were like sitting in Hollywood, um, at the
Yeah,
Oval Office table, and
yeah,
all the producers were there, and they were showing us some previous, you know, companies or businesses or people they had worked with in the past. And it just progressed from there. And they're finally like, "Hey, we want to do a pilot with you guys. Let's see how it goes." And so we just did it.
yeah.
Yeah, uh, I think I read an article when prepare for the episode. Uh, Doing the math here, weren't you about due,
Youngest.
or
Yes. There
was
was,
there a kid on the
yeah,
way
of
when you
course.
started
It
the
was
show?
like my debut to TV, and here I am, pregnant. And I think at first they weren't sure if they were going to show me, but I was so far along that I was like, by the end of the season, it was like I was clearly ready to pop. So, um, yeah, it was great. And I think, I don't know. I think when you're in a line with like where your trajectory of where you're headed in your life, things just like they just work out, right? I mean, things just fall into place, because I remember thinking like I would, if we did the pilot ended, I had a baby, and then I said was nursing, I wanted to be home, and I'm like I don't want to have a TV show like next month. That's not something I would have wanted. And I was like, as long as this baby's 6 months old, then I think would be good. And I think on the day, 6 months later, they called and said, we'd love to do a season with you guys. And so we were ecstatic and kind of nervous, but we just rolled with it. And it was fun and a ton of work. It was like having your full-time jobs, raising a family, and then on top of that having another full-time job, because things were slowed down with production. You couldn't, a contractor, luckily we had great relationships with the contractors, but they were not happy about having to like redo scenes 5 times to get it right. And it was a great fun experience. And I wouldn't have changed anything, but it was a lot of work.
For sure.
I gotta hand it to you. One, I need to put more effort into the Christmas cards. Uh, Two, I just amazed. My wife was pregnant with our twins when we were working on our first property project and running a
Oh
chocolate
wow.
company at
Yeah,
the same time. So um, I was exhausted. I just can't imagine being
Yeah.
pregnant at the same time. So
Yeah.
hats off to you.
I think sometimes life's like riding a roller coaster where you just have to roll with it, right? Like there's moments where it's smooth and then you're like flipping upside down. But if you kind of detach yourself from like the situation, it's like you just know it's temporary. You're going to get through it. It's either a learning experience or something that tells you, okay, maybe we're heading in the wrong direction. Let's pivot here. I think sometimes you just have to kind of detach yourself from those moments and not internalize them as who
right.
you are and what you do. And if you failed at something, you're a failure.
Yeah, don't dwell on the negatives, and like Chenoa said, detach and dwell on the positives.
And you gotta start making like pregnancy pants. I gotta make pregnancy tool
Yeah.
belts. I don't know, with elastic. I don't. Uh, my wife Michaela just had to loop it over
Yeah.
her shoulder
Yeah.
after a while. Uh, twins.
Yeah. That's hard.
Um, so uh, what happened? Tell me. Keep going. What happened after the show? And well, actually, not after the show. I want to know. It's not like TV. It's flipping houses is dirty. There are delays, and television. It isn't like you wiggle your nose like bewitched, and all of a sudden, poof, there's a new window in the
Yeah.
wall. Or so, what was that like?
I mean, it was a lot of work. I mean, it's not only do we have our real estate business as we've been talking about, but now you have a whole nother job, and that job is being on television. And it doesn't matter if the baby needs milk. um, my contractor, he needs material at a job. It doesn't matter what's going on in your life. You have to be able to get on set 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and you have to be able to project, articulate, be happy, and you got to be able to put out a good product to the world when that television is in front of you, or when that camera, excuse me, is in front of you. So it was definitely a lot of hard work, and I always say, like, I think reality television is way harder than scripted television, because in reality television you don't have a script. Like, the camera's on you, and you need to be able to talk and be happy, and be able to go, as opposed to, you have a script, you can practice your lines, you can, you're ready for whatever part you're playing. But in this, it's you, and it's go time, and you got to be ready to go, and balance your entire life, and balance your real estate job on the side, plus all the other activities that you have in your life. So it's a lot of work. It definitely was a lot of work, and a phenomenal experience.
I was just thinking, if it was just like real life flipping, every episode would be boring. Like, just going to put a new coat of paint, maybe change the countertops, do as little as do a cosmetic flip after cosmetic flip. Every episode would be the same if I had my
Yes.
druthers. Uh, how did you? Were you looking for projects that would work on TV, or how did you decide how these episodes would go?
So they take the house, and they kind of they have to approve the house that you purchase, so they have to see it ahead of time, and approve it, and then they come up with kind of a game plan of kind of when those, like, drama points would be. So whether you knew the septic tank was already bad, and then it showed that it was, you found out during the season, the episode. But for the most part, or, I mean, we have had, a painter paint the wrong color and that kind of stuff. That does happen occasionally. But like you said, for the most part, to be able to do it at a successful, highly, efficient level, you have, maybe 5 different samples of paint, scenarios for every type of house. It's, your contractors know, like, what kind of light fixtures to get, and what kind of, color scheme you're going with from day one. Like, it's all systematized, right? With TV, they don't want that because it wouldn't be fun. So you have to add a little bit more splash character design elements, and really kind of think about, maybe, oh, this is a cute little, cottage home. What can we do with this cottage home? Whereas in reality, we would just pick, plan A, B, or C, and roll with that.
Hmm. I'm just picturing producers intentionally
I
sabotaging
know.
your job to make
For, like,
ratings.
no money, in hopes that maybe, in 10 years, America would love you, or the world, and, maybe you'll get paid at some point.
Well then, okay. What happened after the show?
So our show aired on a Tuesday, and then in 2018, and on Thursday we had the campfire in Paradise,
Tell
California,
me, wait, for
which,
Yeah, what's the
So the
campfire?
campfire was one of the largest and most deadliest fire in the United States history. I think there was a total of 85 people that were killed, and it rolled through our town. Basically, started I think it was like 6 a.m., and by 10 a.m. it had completely,
Wiped out over 12,000 houses.
yeah.
Um, like Chenoa said, 80 something people died. It turned all of our lives upside down here in Northern California. It was just completely chaos for months. And like Chenoa was saying, our show had aired on a Tuesday. The campfire hit Thursday, and so it was almost like we got this show, and then all of a sudden it was like boom, the storm just came through. The fire came through, and our lives just went upside down. Um, a lot of houses we were actually every single house except for one house on the show burned down. So we did 8 houses in 6 months on the show, and most of them burned down. It was just a crazy change of events for us.
I get mad when one of our guests leaves a mark on the wall. uh, to lose all those houses and how devastating to the was it
Hmm.
a
Yes, Paradise,
paradise?
California. Yep.
So, what did you do?
Well, we were out of our house initially. We didn't know if our house had burnt down for over a week, I guess. But then we had a family friend that drove our street. We relocated to my mom's house. We didn't have any of our clothes or anything, so it was just kind of like it almost like the world shut down for probably a good solid month in our area, just because the fire was still burning, and so it was like you couldn't go outside.
The
It was
smoke was really
smoky.
bad.
People were just like all over. There was tons of like camps with people. They were housing people and
The
just.
National Guard was here.
I mean, it was just like
Hmm.
it was. It looked like it was like the pictures of paradise were like a bomb had gone through and just
Yeah,
like
they
it
say an
was like a
atomic
war
bomb
zone.
got dropped and wiped everything out.
Yeah, I mean, people were, yeah,
Seems like it would be a localized
yeah,
Yeah,
apocalypse.
it was, and so immediately we thought like, well, how do we help people? We, jumped into action a little bit, just whatever we could do with what we had, and
yeah.
try to
We
support people locally on the ground that needed like clothes or how, toiletries. And my real estate company, Keller Williams, gave money and helped supported people. So we just kind of people jumped into action, to help
Yeah, we had a
the
couple of
community.
houses that were actually not in Paradise, but were in another town here, and like we housed
Hmm.
like some of our friends there, and we got them in the houses that we were doing. So, like yeah, we just jumped into action like right away.
Yeah. And then we just, I mean, it was there. You were not going to turn back and go and do what you were doing. And so we just pivoted to like, okay, well, what do we have? What tools do we have with us? Um, we thankfully and luckily, we had all builders risk. Our everything was insured.
We had insurance on everything.
And I think another like key point for that time period was that our house had damage, but it didn't burn down. Like the firefighters actually happened to be on our street. They weren't even saving houses at this point because they were trying to save lives. But they came in through our front door and it was burning the kids' bathroom, and they put out the fire basically. So we just felt like, you know what, we started our business in paradise. We live in paradise. Our house didn't burn down. We were meant to stay here, finish, and build our business. And so,
Our house was still standing for a reason.
yeah.
Wow. Well, that's incredibly lucky. Uh, and then once the dust and the smoke cleared, where did you go from there? Like, how did you figuratively and literally rebuild?
Yeah. So
But did you stay in town with business?
yeah. So at that point, we really started. It was almost kind of like let's regroup. Let's look at our business. Where do we go from here? What do we get into next? Um, The town that we were flipping all these houses in is completely burned down. What do we do now? Um, so then we started the research. Okay, with fires being so big and a lot of houses being built the way they were, they burned down so fast in the fire, and so we figured, okay, well, we're going to be resilient. We're going to come back and we're going to rebuild. We're going to help the town rebuild. We're going to rebuild our houses that burned down, and we're going to stay in paradise. And so that's what we did. We started partnering with other contractors that were builders, and we started to look at alternative materials to rebuild. And our first house that we rebuilt, we actually did it out of this autoclaved aerated concrete, and that was one of that house. It took a while to build, but it came out phenomenal, and it's in a lot of ways it's how we should be rebuilding properties. And I know, like, nowadays, oh, you got to have a special clearance around your house, and you got to do all these special things they say that's going to help your house for a fire, which it can, obviously, but the reality is, in today's day and age, Mother Nature is totally different. The hurricanes are bigger, the fires are bigger, and they're harder to stop. And so we have to start building differently. And unfortunately, we're not building differently. We're still rebuilding stuff stick built. But we were determined on this particular property, the first new build that we were going to do. We did it out of concrete, autoclaved aerated concrete, and we know if there's another fire, this house will probably withstand and be fine.
So you did you develop a new system, or where did you find this concrete building
Yeah,
method?
so we were actually approached by a contractor, and he literally said, "Hey, I think you guys should rebuild with this. I saw you on TV. Why don't you try this?" And literally, he took a torch, um, and he put it up to the concrete, and he literally was burning it, and nothing happened to this autoclave aerated concrete. And that's when I was like, "Wow, okay, this is different. This isn't a normal stick build." And so we said, okay, let's try this. I'm sold on it because we were so afraid of fires. We still are to this day. But looking at this material, it wasn't damaging it or doing anything to it. It seemed like a no-brainer to use this material to rebuild.
I'd like to ask your opinion on something. This is something they do around here in Florida. I'm constantly smelling smoke outside from controlled burns. Do you think maybe some of these fires are because we're just getting too good at putting out small fires, that the deadfall isn't getting burned up, so then it just turns into far too much kindling? And have they changed the firefighting, methods in California?
No, I think they've added with Paradise. I think it was just such a, like, there were so many old houses, um, and with older houses, they just burn way quicker, and they were just like, it was almost like the kindling for this specific fire. And they didn't we haven't done a great job of, like, clearing out, some of the surrounding areas. There were trees right up to, like, the streets. Um, and there just wasn't a lot of, like, open space that had been previously cleaned up. And so I think that was the one of the big issues with that. And then there just aren't a lot of exits out of Paradise. So
Yeah, this town is really condensed. All the whole entire town is like in one kind of condensed area, and we're sitting on top of a ridge. And so if a fire comes, it's kind of a death trap.
yeah, unfortunately. But I think that, like David said, the thing is we still build with stick built, which is kind of mind boggling, because it's like, if concrete, isn't going to burn, and even if it saves you, a few minutes or whatever it is, that's important. And you have to have these open, cleared spaces, like parking lots. People huddled in parking lots to, like, any open spaces. But this was like the fire was moving so fast, it was almost like a tornado fire. Like,
That's exactly what it was.
it was just crazy. And then it was extremely hot, so things just, like, I
Melted.
mean, melted, you know disintegrated basically.
Yeah, we own a few century homes in the Midwest in Ohio, and those things will go up so fast. The old wood. So yeah, I was just thinking, thank goodness it's not out in the forested area. Uh, so besides fix and flip and real in apartment buildings, you're still flipping. They're holding on to some of these as rentals. And did I hear something about?
Yeah, we had a story where we which was funny because it was my daughter's first job in high school or out of high school, you know, when you turn 16. And she used to go to this bagel shop. It's a local staple in Chico in the downtown area. And the owners had owned it for over 40 years. It's an amazing story of them just like sleeping on flour and trying to figure out how to make these bagels, right alongside, you know, the owner of Sierra Nevada and him trying to make beer out of one of these like little apartment buildings they were renting out rooms
Yeah.
in. And it's been a staple. And we came across some multifamily properties. And the owner happened to own the bagel shop, and we were buying his multifamily that he was selling off, and we were kind of buying it as a whole portfolio. And he offered the bagel shop to us, and we just kind of were like, okay, like we did, you know, our research on it, and we ended up pulling the trigger and buying it. So I think for us, it was mainly the fact that, you know, we're in this community and we want to be a part of the community and give back to the community, and just it's another way of just kind of like that relationship with the community.
That's so cool. I mean, my first job in high school was McDonald's, and there's no way I'm buying one of those for my
No,
kid.
no,
Uh,
yeah, and it's not processed.
as far as I know, there's no
Yeah,
money in it. Uh,
yeah.
and gross. So, but a bagel shop. That sounds.
Yeah, it's fun. You know, we've got the manager's been there for years, and my daughter runs it, so it's kind of like gone full circle, which is pretty cool. So
Yeah, and it's great because
That's great. And what education.
yeah,
yes,
it's great too because like our younger kids, you know, we can have them go and they can work there. So you know, they learn the job and they learn, you know, a work ethic by being there and seeing the business firsthand. And it's great. It's great because you know we always get a lot of people that you know have all these great stories about the bagel shop from all the years, and so it's great when you're in a small town hearing those stories, and to be able to own that bagel shop is really amazing.
I just picture my oldest is 13. Dad, can I have $20? Yeah,
Yeah,
here's
yeah,
your.
yeah, seriously.
Uh, here's a broom. Go hit the
yep,
first shift. It's fantastic. But then again, you've got the real estate business, and yeah, he doesn't drive yet. Go hit the job site. Yeah, I'll call our contractor, and he's.
Yeah,
yep,
exactly.
always.
Yeah.
So what's happening lately? Like, what's the latest? What are you excited about? What's
Yeah,
coming
so
up?
I think the biggest thing for us is the apartment buildings. You know, we recently bought a 17 plex, and we were able to buy it using OPM, other people's, you know, private money, and then we made sure we did all our homework up front. So we bought it at the right price. We made sure we got the bids from the contractors, how much it was going to cost to rehab it, and then we went to our commercial bank and we were able to refinance it, and it appraised 300,000 more than what we bought it for, and it has really good cash flow. And so again, we didn't put a penny of our own money into it. We used the OPM to buy it, and then we were able to refinance it with a commercial loan and pay the OPM back. And so it was a really good purchase for us.
That's great.
That was
Where
in
was
Northern
that?
California. Yep.
Oh, okay. So same
Yeah,
same
Yeah.
same area.
area.
Yeah,
Yep.
we've been doing still I think for us we've kind of pivoted to working more like on our business instead of being inside our business. And I think the difference with that is it really allows you to scale and get, move up the ladder quicker into where we want to end up. And so we are connecting with other people that are doing, remodels or flips in higher populated areas where the resale value is higher. We have the financing on hand, so now we're able to work with like David's brother. We flip houses in Maui. It's a higher return on our investment. It's higher to get in, but a higher exit as well, and so the profits are higher. And then looking for other partnerships, in the other areas that we could potentially work with as well. And so we've done that with our flips, which really allows us to not have to be on the job, and really work and manage it. We're kind of just more of the partner that provides the funds and lets somebody else who is well known and knows how to operate a flip and do it properly and timely. Gives us more time freedom to work on other things like figuring out, buying holes, other multifamily. We're looking into raising capital, creating syndications, and going after larger projects. So we're excited for the future and just to keep moving up the ladder and keep learning more. You just got to start somewhere and take action. And that's like the biggest thing.
That's great. In fact, I was thinking that, when you were talking about getting started again after the fire, and by the way, Maui, were you affected by that?
So no, our family's on the other side of the island, thankfully. But our son does guest play with several players on their Albion Maui team, and we do have people that were affected by it. So it was definitely another tragedy in our hearts. Go out to all the people that were affected by it.
I was gonna start. I was gonna say you almost have my kind of bad luck if you hit you twice. Uh, but the other thing that didn't get said when you were talking about getting started again, rebuilding, finding, innovating, is that it's like the entrepreneur mindset. When everybody else is complaining about their pain points, their problems, what's getting in their way, or what they just lost, the entrepreneur looks at the situation and says, "Okay, what do we have at hand? What do we know? What do we need to know? And how do we move forward?" And I think that's fantastic. I think we should move into a new segment I'm introducing to the show called the Countdown to Impact. And we'll do three books or podcasts or resources that you recommend, uh, two quotes or lessons learned, and one person that influenced your life. And I guess you can each input, and I guess we don't have to keep it to just one if you both have somebody. Uh, let's start with three books or podcast references.
Okay. I think one book that really I resonate with is it's the is it The Garden Within? No, that's the book I'm listening to right now. Um, but that's a great book too. The Garden Within talks about more of like I think just digging deep into your own mindset and abilities, and just overcoming trauma. And I think that a lot of times, like life is like a reflection, a mirror reflection of what you are and who you are and how you feel inside. And so I think going internally and doing deep work inside of you helps propel you to be successful and really see the world in a better light. So I think that's, a positive thing that everybody could take away from is really, looking inside and how you can project yourself and to create, a successful life and whatever that means for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a lot of books. I would say, oh man, I like The Power of Charm. Um, that one and Ed Milet's book, The Power of One More. Um, those two, I'll speak on Ed Milet's book. I love the fact in his book that it's internal. It's you, and you have to really look at yourself and hold yourself to a higher standard that you can be better than what you're doing. You just have to put in more effort. And with Ed Milet's book, it's so motivational, and it gets you off. It gets you up, and it makes you want to do more because you know that if you just believe in yourself, you're just so much capable of doing bigger and better things.
You know, the Power of One More was a really good book. He's a very powerful speaker, and I think it's a habit, it's a discipline, and it becomes second nature just to go a little bit further every time, to take a second look. It's situational awareness, right? And I think it's one of those key factors of life. If you make doing one more, if they ask for 10, you give 11, right? And it just becomes habit, nature. It's it's amazing how little you really need to do beyond that to just
Yeah,
blow
Yeah.
people's minds.
absolutely.
And so,
Yeah,
okay, that's
I would
two.
say the other one, obviously, we're a part of the Brandon Turner's the Better Life Tribe, and I think as far as his podcast is amazing, and I just love everything that he's shows up for. All of his Better Life Tribe membership fees go directly to fighting human um, trafficking, and
Hmm.
so it's just like being in a pod with people and holding yourself accountable and just tracking those daily habits because our identity is what our daily habits are. And so I think just getting that mindset and training people how to do that and how to just want to be better, not only in business, but a better, spouse, a better, business person, a better mother, a better, community member. So they're just, you know, I think it encompasses everything that, everybody should strive to be and or become.
Yeah, I think you'd be hard pressed to find uh, a current example of somebody who is all about mindset, productivity, and impact. So that's excellent. In fact, when I was on his show, and I was asked about my three books, I blanked on the third one, and then thought, "Ugh, duh,
Yeah, yeah.
his
Yeah,
book. I actually and I planted to pick from, but I chose um, managing rental properties and the book on managing rental properties because I must suggest that to everybody on Facebook who talks about, oh, how do I find a good property manager or how do I self manage? I'm like, first you got to read his book. So, but when he was on this show, we talked about uh, how he does anything. He breaks it down to little pieces, brick by brick, building a wall. So even writing a book and how it's so prolific. And then and you know what? He makes it sound really easy. That's terrific. All right. Two lessons learned or your favorite quotes, maybe one each.
My favorite quote I think is, gosh, I think it's Emerson by Emerson. Ralph Emerson, I think it is. And it's at the moment of commitment, the universe will conspire to assist you. And I truly believe that whatever you set your mind to do, like things will line up. And when you're in alignment with where you're headed and the direction you're headed, that things fall into place. And I feel like I've lived my life like that. And I really feel like life has,
Love it.
I would say, and then mine is do unto others as you do yourself. It's you give what you give, you get back. We're firm believers that if we put out positivity, if we put out hard work, we might not see it now, but down the road somewhere, it's going to come back to us. And that's why, I truly believe in that quote.
I think the flip is the flip side, the other side of that coin, what
yeah.
karma is a
Yeah.
bitch. Or uh, but you're absolutely right. I think that's like the go giver philosophy. Put that value out first before you can expect anything in return. So really, I really like that. All right. One person who's influenced your life, and you both can put somebody now. What have we got?
Um, for me, I think it's probably my mother, just how hardworking she was and just her drive to take care of children as a single mother. And I think she taught me at a young
Hmm.
age, like what she set her goals to. She used to put her goals in a jar, and then like each one would come true over time. So I think when you just have that kind of mindset and that frame of work, I think she really taught me a lot of good values. And just, I think the most important one is probably unconditional love.
Awesome. David,
Yeah,
what about you?
I would say probably probably my dad. I think that he was always telling me you got to work harder. When you're not training, somebody else is training harder than you, and you have to always show up. He would always tell me you have to always show up with a chip on your shoulder. Okay, every day you go out there, it doesn't matter if you're the best, you got to be better than the best. And you know, that's always how he projected himself, and always gave me that speech every time when it came to business or life or sports, and so I always remembered that, and I'd always work hard in everything that I do.
Kind of sounds like, was it Tim Grover with the
Yes,
Yep.
definitely.
Relentless? He was talking about uh, talking about the sports stars that would just stay
Hmm.
hours.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
Even if there was one other person in the gym, you know, they just stay longer just to prove to that
Yep.
guy.
Or David Goggins, never finished. It's like, his book, Never Finished. It's like I read that book and I'm just like, the guy just keeps on going, and it's he runs at 3, 4 a.m. in the morning, and he's waiting to see that light come on in someone's house. That's when he knows, that he's keeping, he's up, and he's up before them. So, um, yeah, it's those things, those kind of things that keep you inspired and keep you moving forward.
All right. David, Chenoa, if anybody wants to find out more about you, contact you, maybe learn how they can buy a property from you or invest with you, where can they go to find out more?
So follow us on Instagram, Chenoa and David. We're also on Facebook, Chenoa and David, and it's spelled with a C for Chenoa. And we do a lot of content, and we do yeah. So we're always on there, and they need to get a hold of us for anything. They can reach us at Chenoa and David.
All right. Well, then, my Chenoa. Oh, sorry. I couldn't help it. It's been stuck in my head since, I don't know. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. You gave so much value today, and um,
Hey, no problem.
Yes, thank you, Aaron. We appreciate the
Yeah,
opportunity, and it was a pleasure meeting you and chatting.
pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for having us.